recipient of last year's Company of the Year Award and on behalf of Quantum Technologies, it is an honor to announce and present the Cleantech OC 2011 Company of the Year Award. I'm just simply amazed at the number of stories, Cleantech stories, right here in Orange County. And actually, it's not just the number of stories, it's the quality and the fortitude demonstrated by each one of these companies and all the companies in clean tech in Orange County. It's what makes this process of determining the finalists as well as the ultimate winner a very difficult process. We are basically assessing many companies that are leading the charge in developing technology and applying that technology in commercial ways. The finalists for this year's award are the companies that are represented here at this table. On behalf of Cleantech OC, the selection committee, and everyone in attendance, I applaud the activities of all of these companies as being finalists and wish them continued success in the future. The winner of this year's award is a company that has over 2 decades of success in clean energy, a leader in technology development and the adoption of innovative manufacturing processes, a company that has pioneered the production and application of cutting-edge technology, a stellar example of what it takes to be a successful clean energy company. The winner of the Cleantech OC 2011 Company of the Year Award is Amonix.
Well, this was a surprise, so I'm a little bit nervous, okay? But like you said, this started about 20 years ago with a vision to make low-cost electricity for the masses. And it was 20 years in the making. A lot of difficult times, run out of cash, run out of patience, run out of everything, and got lots of beating from my wife and my family. But you have to endure, and that's what makes things happen. And right now, as I said, I'm very proud of our company's accomplishment. I'll give lots of credit to all my colleagues, and that worked diligent hours with me, sometimes without getting paid for years, and it's made it happen. And the last couple of years, as I told you, we were lucky that in the worst time of the recession, we were able to raise $130 million initially and to put this company in the forefront of this technology. As I articulated earlier, this is very, very powerful technology, and I don't see anything, I don't want to be arrogant, however, I don't see anything in the next 5 years that can beat this technology where it's going. It is low cost, as I said, to start to manufacture. And yes, there are lots of low labor areas in the world that they're challenging every aspect of generation of solar electricity. However, because of the fact that it's very high performance, it's what our product at this point is about twice the efficiency of any other solar product on Earth. It means that whatever sun is falling on it, it converts twice as much of it into useful energy, into electricity. So having all these attributes and with low cost of manufacturing, we're on a roll right now, and we recently raised more money. And so we're going all over very, very fast. As I said earlier, this keeps me up. It just keep up with the pace. And because the potential and the total scope of what energy is, most of you know, energy is huge, huge business. And the sun is abundant, it's clean, it's cleanest of any of the renewable energies. And the problem with the sun, as I said, it's very dispersed. We sometimes call it poor man's energy because it's all over the world. You could get it everywhere. It's kind of hard to harness because it is In a small area, let's say on a very bright day, all you have about 1,000 watts falling on a, let's say, 10 square feet of area. So that's not a lot of energy in condensed form. Therefore, to collect it, you always need lots of, something you have to put some material in front of it. And that is very, very important. And to what we did, as I said, explained earlier, we divided or we separated the collection from the conversion. And that's what made this one a very simple concept, made this one accessible and made it much lower cost. And as 50 megawatt level that we're going to produce at this year, we're competing with the giants that's producing gigawatts of it. And in the years to come over here, as we grow and mature our supply chain and mature our manufacturing, and we expect to be the lowest cost and make electricity in the 7 to 8 cents kilowatt hour that we can compete directly with the existing energy sources. On behalf of everybody at Ammonix, on behalf of my invited committee over here, I really appreciate you giving me this honor, giving us the honor, and Ammonix is proud to accept this one, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Okay, with that, we're going to move on to the last speaker of the day. So I'll thank our panel here one more time, and one more round of applause for all of these wonderful finalists. And I'm just delighted now to introduce our last speaker of the day, John Picard of Picard and Associates. For those of you who don't know John Picard, he is, by any estimation, one of the world's leading experts on clean technology and sustainability. And so please join me in welcoming John now up to the stage.
How are you? I'm late to my own party. I have, you guys met Sarah this morning, huh? Sarah's coming in. She'll be in here in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Last thing I want to do is get up at the podium and do a Talking Heads campaign. And so while we're waiting for Sarah, because I prepared some questions, and I launch better when somebody's asking me questions. So while we're waiting for Sarah, I'll go back over, how I got into this space, a little bit of an intro on me. Goes way back to, I grew up here. I was born in Boston. My dad ran the Apollo program. When we landed on the moon in '69, my dad rented one of the first Irvine buildings on Michelson, and we moved to Corona del Mar. I started diving and surfing, and basically became a water person, went to CDM. Got out of school, didn't finish college, got into construction, and before I knew it, I was working with my dad writing a critical path management program on construction projects. And my dad said, I have no idea why you want to get into construction. I said, why? He says, don't you remember what I told you when John Glenn was going up into space? I said, no, I forgot. And he said, here I am. This is what he said a minute before liftoff. He said, I can't believe it. I'm on a device that is the culmination of all mankind's greatest technology. Over 1,600,000 moving parts. But the thing I'm most worried about is that I know that I'm sitting on a pile of low bids. And when the guys were talking earlier today, the real estate guys, the guys from Irvine and Wendell from UC Irvine, I so wanted to jump up at the mic and tell them that code is just one step above breaking the law. We can do so much more. And what I'm excited about at Clean Tech, because I helped launch the green building movement by mistake. When I finished, I met Malcolm. We did one of the first green building projects in the world, you know, John. But before that, I built the 3 most expensive homes in the country. These were monuments of what not to do. They were the most wasteful projects ever. But if you were going to design the most inefficient hotel or inefficient space, you'd have this, right? We've been sitting in the dark all day. And my clients back in the 80s, we built a house. The last project I built cost $123 million. This is a house for 4 people. It had a $60,000 a month electrical bill when they weren't home. The Christmas lights cost $2 million. It was crazy. But when they got that first month's operating costs, they nearly fell over. It was over $500,000 a month to run this house. $500,000. 4-inch copper sprinkler lines. I think we were the #1 water bill in DWP, and the only thing close was UCLA. I mean, it's craziness to be on that side. So I go along year after year, and I finally got fed up with it. And after spending a couple of years in the environmental movement, and that's what I am. I'm not so much the how on all this is going down, but the why. And why I believe this is like a major new economy coming. Why I believe that money follows where it's treated friendly, and clean technology is going to add and develop to sustainability and build the green building movement out beyond that. And you heard all this situation about LEED. My view on LEED is it's going to be free and voluntary. My view on LEED is it's going to be virtualized. My view on LEED and your ratings of your building will be continuously commissioned. So John, when you and CTG or the guys from DPA do your next platinum building, you did a platinum building for 2011. But because that building is going to be running with Sky Energy or Skywatch or iTendant or any one of these real-time tools that mines the data out of those buildings, which was what the guy from Irvine was, what was his name, Jim from Irvine? The guy from Irvine Company? Chris. So when Chris was talking about that, I look back at these mega homes that I built, and I don't know if I added any value to them at all. But I know that when we retrofit, when we retro-commission, and we install these kinds of data-driving tools, that we're adding to what Irvine companies should be recognizing. It's not what it costs to do these retrofits. It's not the things that they put in. It's not what it costs to green these buildings. But what is the portfolio value today? And I was going to ask him, how much did he spend to green those projects? And I don't think it's going to be very much. But you heard him say that a big retailer was asking to be off the grid. Did you hear that? And that's what I did. In 1987, I bought a piece of property. I lived in a little tiny trailer with a new puppy. I ran out of propane every 6 days with my little trailer that I borrowed from my mom. And I spent 6 months doing something that I had no business doing. I had no idea what a green building was. And I built my house. It was off the grid. It was made out of recycled materials. It was so ugly. It looked like the box the house across the street should have come in. It looked like Ice Station Zebra. And I love firing on my own coordinates about what my house wasn't. It was the 30 things to do that I knew how to do, and it was the 60 things not to do. And I shared my mistakes. And that's when I realized, wow, this is amazing. The built world is based on risk, liability, and low bids, and we can do a lot better. And so I ended up building this house. Everybody and their brother came to my house. The house was off the grid, but my neighbors hated me until the earthquake happened. Like 9/11, like Japan, like any other moment when we have to come together because something catastrophic brings us back down to the earth where we're all on the same place and we're scared. And I brought my neighbor's children into a room a little bit smaller than this, and my solar system kept the house on, and they watched TV on the big screen, and I make cocoa in the kitchen. And I follow that for every one of my projects. My current work, I'm doing an experimental 7-Eleven, an experimental Walgreens, an experimental branch bank. And one of the reasons I got the job is because those Walgreens will be a command center and a place for the village community, people to go for water and medicine and power, because those stores will be off the grid. When the Gap came to me, when Sony, and I ended up doing all these amazing green building projects, and this is all before LEED. And so the fellow from DPA is correct. You can do a lot without being LEED. But that rating system puts us all on some kind of a standard where we can compare. LEED's really important. There's a lot of problems with it, but they're working with it. So here I am. I built my greenhouse. It's off the grid. I've got hundreds of Japanese people visiting me that I didn't invite. Busloads handing me gifts, walking through, just going, wow. I went, wow, I've done something. And I realized to be in this space, to be in clean tech, to be in green build, to be a leader in sustainability, you have to take some huge risks. As I sat through here today, and because I moved up to the Silicon Valley, I moved up there to be in the zone of risk takers, maniacal, crazy, driven people who are willing to throw it all down on an idea. And I'll share with you some of those startups and some of the trends and why I think the Silicon Valley and why I think clean tech is so, so important. So who in the audience is a venture capitalist? One. Who in the audience has a startup? What's your company? And what do you do?
We have technology that will do fast enough to charge an electric battery. You can take your house off the grid with
Right.
20 batteries.
So you can change the load shape of my house, right? So if I installed your batteries in 100 Walgreens stores and peak power rates come on, we shift over to your battery system, change the entire load shape, right? For as long as those batteries cycle. So stored energy is a big deal. The data, do you have the data and the information coming off your batteries so you can see what those load shapes are and the savings? You do? Good. So when I finished that house, I look back on those mega homes that I'd built, and I realized I'd crossed the line. And I went on to work for companies like Interface. You guys know Interface Flooring? Ray Anderson? Anybody raise a hand? You know Ray? So this is a guy who runs a company that's based on petrochemicals. He makes the carpet that's under our feet. And when we were working on the Energy Resource Center for SoCal Gas, we were supposed to come up with just really progressive ways to put sustainability and green building technologies into that space. And one of the things I realized was the nylon molecule is 100% recyclable. And I asked Ray Anderson, a CEO of a company who had no idea I was coming, to ask him and tell him he didn't get it. This is a $1 billion carpet company. And he turned around and challenged his team to make carpet so that it could be reclaimed. So now Bank of America, the City of San Diego, Southern California Gas Company buy carpet and make old carpet into new carpet. But we use twice as much energy. And then we solar powered those plants. And now these carpet tiles cost 65% less than virgin. And more importantly, they close the loop. And when DuPont invented the nylon molecule, it was designed to be 100% recyclable, but nobody knew that. Closing the loop, reclaiming things like water. There's some people here from Grundfos. So for the next two, Grundfos is a huge pump company, and they make a 2-watt pump, and they make a 600 horsepower pump. But they use more energy to move water than anybody in the world. And so right now we're energy centric, right, John? Everything's about energy cycles. Energy to me is a whole new currency. And when I moved to the Silicon Valley, I went there to meet people like you. I went there to meet companies that I didn't know yet, but should, that had the power tools to go out and do what I'm doing today, which is not building another mega home, not building another LEED Platinum building, but developing tools like soft power, which will be the Facebook of energy, to mine what I call the fifth fuel. And the fifth fuel is the largest utility in the world. It's the largest energy maker in the world. And you know who it is? You know what it is? It's all the resident energy that exists in the buildings that are out there right now in real time. And so what I see happening in the Silicon Valley today, and I think it could happen here more in Orange County than in the Valley. The Valley's just hundreds of companies running at breakneck speed to become successful, like you, Mr. Thor. And they're not focused on real estate. They're not focused on green building. They're not focused on sustainability. They're focused on surviving for 2 years and being a hockey stick to make Kleiner happy, to make DFJ happy, Silver Lake, and the other guys on Sand Hill Road. And what could happen, here comes Hotness now to help me. You're forgiven. We're family. Give me a hug.
Hi, how are you, John?
I'm better now that you're here.
Good.
We're really informal. Do you have your iPad?
I don't have my iPad, but I have my I have everything.
This is
going
part of
on
the
here.
show, folks. Well, here's mine.
Let me see yours.
But let me finish where I'm at.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back to this.
All right. Thank you.
Normally we do Oprah style. I sit on the couch, she sits in the hot seat and starts pinging questions. So where was I? Before
You were
came
talking
in.
about Silicon Valley.
Yeah, so the valley is where these tools to mine that fifth fuel energy are coming from. And that fifth fuel energy is bigger than all the combined utilities in one moment. We've spent the last industrial revolution building buildings. We've done two things to this earth. We built cities, and we mined ancient sunlight in the form of oil and combusted it. One of the two we'll be forgiven for, and we can change, and we can restore and regenerate. The other one, there's no chance, because we broke natural law, and that is a law. That's all it is. And we won't recover. We're heading into the Anthropocene, and what we did in this last industrial revolution, combusting and creating carbon at the levels we have, make you guys the most important people on the planet today, and you don't know it. Ray Anderson passed away 3 weeks ago. He may have been and may be the most important person in industrial ecology. His company, for sure, is the most important company in the world. When you think about the most profitable company in the world, you will be looking in the future at a company that mimics nature, because in nature there is no waste and there never has been. And so it's really important as you guys start to move towards technologies and how you're going to do things and how you're going to become a company. It's just as important to get the how part down, but it's ultimately really important to get the why down. Why are we doing this? Ultimately, in the end, at the bottom line up here, I said, we're doing this so we can love all of our children. And the ascension of women, a lot of women in here today. Raise your hands, women. Why are you guys here? Is it cool? Do you want new jobs? Does it feel right? Does this feel like where your head and your heart line up to where your work is? Is that it? You were born to protect life. You inherently have I witnessed this for 20 years. I've worked for a bunch of guys with my hair color who are focused and thinking about building things and selling them and moving them on. And you have the same feeling I do about things in this country today, don't you? Don't you feel like we just kind of got sold out and everything was rushed and Wall Street's just completely dislocated us and dispositioned us? And I've traveled the world 3 times in the last 6 months. And coming back, I used to be completely excited about shaking the hand of a customs agent when he says, welcome back to the U.S. And I'm more excited today than I was before because of what I'm seeing happen up in the valley and what I'm seeing happen here. And you're important because we're in a country that takes risks. We're in a country that'll put money up and do a startup like Thor. We're in a country where companies will hire a startup company to launch a product that could be great. You do it directionally. You feel like your company's doing something for the world? You feel good about it? You sleep an hour longer every night? You should. See, when they asked me to do the green version of this hotel, I said, I'll do it. But when I'm done, your problem is your guests are going to sleep an hour without trying. He said, what are you talking about? I said, well, isn't that what you really want? So anyway, the valley.
So, John, what are let me interject here.
Yeah.
Tell
That's
me
what you're supposed to
how these technologies in the valley, how will that affect the global landscape?
So right now, you don't know where energy is. You can't see it. So for those of you who want to get your arms around, like the fastest moving, most amazing side of technologies in the valley today are data visualization tools. I'll rattle off some companies. Sky Energy, with a product called Skywatch, which is a neural network, an algorithm that sits on top of an existing building automation system and can trend and plot what the energy shape of this building will be over the next month or 2 months. And so you can see the operational anomalies and inefficiencies, and across millions of square feet, this looks like the Facebook of energy in the built world today. Because building, for me, the value of Irvine Company is the data coming out of their buildings. The world was built on energy and matter, but this new economy is going to be based on energy data, for sure. And in the real estate world today, I see a bifurcated market. There are buildings like the ones he was talking about where they've done LEED and sustainability and green building, and they've spent money to make the buildings more efficient. Your entire company exists on making buildings better and more efficient. Because the real estate guys, all the people at the top that manage, own, or are selling these assets are realizing that the value of the buildings aren't driven by CapEx anymore. It's not the address. It's not how many square feet they are. It's based on their operational efficiencies. And the new total metric of measuring the values of buildings, it's not here now, but it's going to be here as fast as the iPhone arrived when you didn't even know an iPhone was coming. And that's carbon. Carbon measuring in real estate is the whole new trading value. It's going to hit the balance sheet. So progressive real estate guys right now are buying terminal buildings, C buildings heading toward D buildings to take them to a B level or an A level building. And they're going to make a ton of money. Because you heard the Irvine guy talk about it's being driven by the customer. For the first time ever, big companies are saying, we've done everything we can on our sustainability side of things, and I need to rent another 1,000,000 feet. I'm Adobe. I'm Salesforce.com. I'm Facebook. The Facebook factor is there's engineers your age that they're paying $500,000 a year to, $1 million in stock options, and $1 million walk-in bonus. And so they can't open their wallet. So they're building a workplace that's off the grid, produces its own food, reclaims its water 50 to 60 times with guys like him, and doing things that nobody's ever done before with like the life-giving forces of that site. Harvesting the sun because we should be off the grid, and there is nothing alternative about alternative energy. That's the worst name. It should be primary. The most appropriately named thing out in the world is asphalt.
So John, you've been in this space for 20 years now. Why are you so excited about right now? Is it the fact that analog is going digital, that there are metrics for things? Why has it all come to a head now?
I didn't think we were going to get there. You know, my dad's mission was a 9-year mission to get us to the moon. And my dad used to take us out to static firings of the Saturn V1 rocket. They'd pull the bird up into a test stand along the Mississippi and the Pearl River. They'd static fire it. And it would shoot a flame from this hotel to the 405. And they would pump 1 million gallons of water in a minute, and it would evaporate and go up into the sky, form clouds, and then when the clouds would come over and rain on us, and I'd go, holy shit, the old man can make rain. And my brothers and I were stunted. That was it. But about 3 years ago, I woke up and I said, hey, I'm a leader in the green space. And I started to act like it. And then I started to think, where do I have to go? Because I have less time here, like a lot of you, than I've had. And I want to spend the rest of my life doing as much good as I can, being the greatest person I can be, being the best leader possible. And so I started to line my head and my heart up. But then I kept looking for the tools. And I saw the world shifting from analog to digital. I don't need to tell you about Kodak. I don't need to tell you about the iPhone. I don't need to tell you about Apple. But the real estate communities lag behind. And so every square foot, every square inch of buildings can be realized in digital form. The minute we can see our energy and the negative externality, the minute these data visualization tools will realize in 3D and 4D the implications of what it took to power this hotel today against how many people are here, how many gallons of water were wasted, Henrik, and water's cheap, right? Energy's 20 times more expensive, but water is a life-giving force. And clean tech, you guys, are, whether you're associated in it or in it, the entire clean tech movement, for me, is so much more a force than sustainability, than any new building standard, than anything to do with green building. Because it is going to balance us. It's going to inform us. And being informed in this world today, as we reach 9 or 10 billion people, we have overstressed the natural life-giving support system of this planet 5x. And it's not getting any better. And if you go to China today, or you go to India, and you have both eyes open, and you're looking around at what they're doing, you're going to come back broken-spirited because they are about to switch on. And they're going to make us look small by comparison globally in terms of the kind of energy they're about to use, the kind of things they're about to make, the kind of implication they have on the planet. And so I came back to the Valley and I said, I'm going to build soft power. I'm going to build the Facebook of energy. I'm going to build something that renders our energy cycles. And when I'm done with energy, we're going to move to water. And so analog to digital is an amazing force to be reckoned with, and nothing will outweigh that efficiency once we're informed. And every building today has an opportunity. These software platforms are so unbelievable. They self-onboard. They don't even need anybody to install. They just load. They're in the cloud, and they're cheap, super cheap. And they allow the owner to take it over. So I'll name a few companies that I'm working with that I think are over-the-top amazing. Enlighted, wireless, cloud-based lighting control. Hurrah is just off the charts in terms of data visualization. Enmetric. Anybody ever heard of Enmetric? You guys have plug outlets, right? You have outlets in your office? You guys know who Adobe is, right? So Adobe's got millions of square feet. They did a study. 60% of Adobe's energy is in plug load management. Plug loads. Enmetric is a simple software package that sits on your power strip. And you heard about demand response today, right? A little bit about DR. With Enmetric running on your power strip with an 18-month payback, with a first cost that's almost nothing, they can see every laptop in the space. They can see if your laptop's charged full or not. They can see by the energy fingerprint on the plug connection that you just changed to another page on the internet. Isn't that amazing? They can tell appliances. They can spot a printer. They can see the entire operational shape, equipment shape of a building space. And with that data, and when we start sharing that data between buildings, you're going to start to see a whole new economy of evaluation of operational data on buildings against energy. And what's driving this more than anything goes back to these companies who have more money than my clients that built those wasteful homes. The enabling web companies, companies like Skype and PayPal and eBay. All of those companies have one thing in common: to enable a world that's better for us. And the people that work there want to be in that enabling space. And so the venture capital money behind the companies that I'm talking about are the same guys that put Google up, same guys that put Amazon up, same guys that put PayPal up, and the same guys that put eBay up, because they can see that new economy coming. And so the value of a building tomorrow, and the real estate community is going to claw its way back, but it won't be trading on Wall Street. Wall Street and derivatives and overvaluation on properties, that's broken. That's based on terminal value and terminal design. And it's 45 days old, like your energy bill. And the new valuation on buildings is real time. But it's really about clean technology installed in buildings to make you more productive. Because if you're 3 or 4% more productive, that is more valuable than anything. And the Irvine Company, 2 or 3 years from now, will be saying, all we do now is 100% efficiency across the board because our tenants are demanding it. And the value of Mr. Irvine's properties will be based on his tenants and the term of the leases and the operational efficiencies that CTG and other fantastic engineering firms have designed in. I have a company I'm working with called Solidyne. It's dynamic glass. It's 2 pieces of regular glass that arrive at their factory, goes through a big lineal plant that looks like it's a plasma screen plant. And while the glass is traveling down the line like this, a plasma arc gun fires monotonic particles onto one side of the glass. And when they make the glass in one of the cleanest clean rooms you've ever been in, you take that glass, you put a 3-watt charge would power a glass wall as big as the whole stage. 3 watts. So you can do an entire hotel like this for nothing. And if the power went out, it would go clear. But if they used that glass in the first place to do this hotel, we would have made the air conditioning system half the size. you would have no window treatments, no Mecco shades, no blinds. And so the in-building systems, you know what that is? Those are the pipes, the wiring, the duct banks, the transformers, all the stuff that added up to become the total cost of this building would have been reduced by at least a third by making the right decision to deal with solar gain right at the point, right at that surface point on the glass. And this is one of the Silicon Valley startups that I'm involved in with Vinod Khosla. It's a $150 million company. We've been on the ground for 2 years. We're building pieces of glass today in Mississippi. We're opening a plant in 2 months. The problem is, 2 years ago, we could only make a piece a matchbook size. And a year ago, we made a piece a foot by foot. And 6 months ago, we made a piece 30 by 30. And as you get these pieces of glass bigger and bigger, you have yield problems. You have defects in the glass. And they have the most amazing catalog of defects in glass that's not clean. There's just one little particle and the panel fails. But today, yesterday actually, the company runs 24/7, just continually making glass so they can fail. So when they hit the street, they've got a product that'll last 40 years, like low-E glass. They built their first 5x10 panel. It's history bending, but you don't know about it. And it's coming. It'll be in building soon. It'll be in the new Porsche Eco Hotel in Atlanta. It'll be in the MGM new hotel in India, the biggest hotel in the world. It'll be in the second biggest hotel in the world at MGM in China. And speaking of MGM, I worked on City Center. You guys been to Vegas? Been to City Center? That was my job. I had a meeting with their CEO. He looked a little bit like you, but you were nicer. I saw you on stage. And you got an award. He didn't. He said, Picard, I don't give a shit about green. The board's going to fire me. I'm not going to spend $200 million to green this hotel. I know we're spending $7 billion, but I'm not spending $200 million. But he goes, if you can hold my attention for 8 minutes, I'll give you another 8. And 42 minutes later, I got $205 million. And 4 months later, I raised them $534 million in federal state tax incentives to do the building. And Vegas is in the toilet today, financially. And you know why they're alive? Because the operating metric on City Center is 28% less than everyone else on the Strip. And they are rocking today because they're going to hold their own. And now they are building with Nmetric. They are building with Hurrah. They are building with Skywatch. They're going to build with Glass. They're going to the next level. So my message today was green building was awesome. I loved it. From the moment I was stuck in that little trailer to the moment all those people showed up that I didn't invite, to the fact that I hosted my neighbors in a tough time. But getting to where we are today, I think it's going to go big. Clean tech is going to it's going to make the fact that doing the right thing can cost less. And green building and sustainability, unless it was engineered and designed way up front, has always cost a little bit more because there was such a steep learning curve. There was a whole nother step to doing the right thing. And that's why it costs more. But it's been around now. And having a LEED building really isn't that much of an advantage today, is it? Do you guys get all excited when you hear somebody's got a LEED platinum building opening? I mean, there's football tonight and there's a LEED platinum opening. So we have to go to the next level. And what I'm telling you today, and I'm on firm ground here. I've been in this making mistakes for you and everybody else for 20 years in the space, is that clean tech is going to be what we look back on, is what made the difference, what helped us balance ourselves to nature. We've been engineering to man's law forever, even in green building, even while we were writing sustainability codes. Remember, code is just one step above breaking the law. It's not doing the right thing. And doing the right thing is mining all this data and sharing it with the world.
So John, you're a clean tech evangelist. You really are out there promoting the cause. How do we get the mainstream engaged? Because that's something that I find frustrating. We here are enlightened, we get it.
Yep.
How do you convince those that don't?
Well,
Throw a
I mean,
curveball at you.
everyone here was talking about ROI today. The bottom, every time, no matter what my company is, whether I'm talking to a facility manager, an asset manager, an owner, they just say, so how much is this going to cost? and what's the return on investment. And these are all companies that, you know, have engineered themselves to have 2 or 3 year paybacks and very fast install times. But what I have now is I went around and I've, over 2 years, selected 8, 9 companies that I work with. And I use those 8 companies all at once. I use Enlighted to work with Lunera's LED glass. I mean LED lights and Solidine's glass. And if you want to see a local example of this, go to the Apple Store in Fashion Island. That is it in terms of lighting. It is the most state-of-the-art digital light driver facility you've ever seen. I didn't say LEDs, I didn't say lights. Apple is completely switched on to this at their new campuses and what they're doing in their stores. They're driven by light. And the future of light is not a product, it's the quality of light. And last week, I was handed an iPhone, and they told me to go outside the building. I went outside, and I recorded the spectral light shape of that moment. So if you like the weather here today in Orange County, you like this? So I can go out and record that and go back, fly back up to San Francisco tonight, plug that into my operating grid, and it'll push Orange County light at 5:45 in the afternoon through my LEDs in my office. It's a digital light recorder. Who would have ever thought of that? So, Serena, you and I are going to go on our honeymoon. We're going to Maui. You're like, I got to save this moment. And people are like, what are you going to do with a digital light recorder? Well, you have the best week ever, the most amazing week ever. And I'm recording the occupancy, temperatures, your skin temperature, the light levels, the oxygen level. Your total, you are who I'm driving towards now. Clean tech is going to focus on people. Clean tech is going to focus on productivity, health, and wellness, and balancing the grid. And the opportunity that we have in this country today against what's not going on in the rest of the world is we're here. This room's not filled, but you guys stuck around. You guys got heart. You're hanging for the whole day on what I'm telling you is going to be a history-bending situation. And when you go on my website and when you read about me on the internet, you're going to find out who I am. You're going to find out that I did the greening of the White House for Clinton, first person in the door. What I'm about to tell you is this. I kick doors in and start fires and throw grenades. And I take huge risks. And I do things that nobody else will do. And now I'm too old to keep doing it without sharing it. So I'm just going to save you 20 years and tell you, stay in this clean tech space. Watch it become super relevant. Watch it become more important. And actually, I think it's kind of sputtering right now. But you know, when Steve Jobs and Wozniak left Atari and stole their computer technology, they sputtered for a long time. And 10 years ago, the USGBC was on the brink of bankruptcy. And the USGBC is kind of maxed out. All the members are there, but they're still booking 2 million square feet a day or signing up for certification. But that's only like 3% of the buildings in the US. It's still 1%. It's not nearly enough. What's going to happen is this is going to be customer driven. It's going to be driven by the velocity of returns. It's going to be driven by when you take Lunera, Solidyne, and Skywatch, and Enlighted, and you add them together, you have less than a 2-year payback. You're talking about 50 to 60% reduction in operating costs. And this is where I'm at. And I said this to you last year when I spoke, that I changed my whole way of making money. I'm not consulting anymore. I'm performance contracting. And I'm not promising you savings by all the things that I do. What I want is an appreciation right to the claim that I'm making that the value of your portfolio is going to go up. So if you own 100 million square feet of real estate, Terry, and I come to you, I'm going to take you on a tour in the Silicon Valley. And this is something that I offer. I used to do it for free, but she gets mad. So I won't do it for free. And I'm only going to offer this to 5 people in the room. I can't do it anymore. I don't have any more time. But I'll take 5 of you so that you can talk next year on the panel about that one-day experience in the Valley, because you will deserve to be on a panel. Because what's going on and it should be a representation of people here from Orange County to go up there and see what they're doing. But the point I was making earlier was Silicon Valley is awesome. It's going at break speed. but they're not focused on the real estate side of things. And we could do that here in Orange County better than anybody. We could be the ones that go from green building, sustainability, to clean tech. And it's a powerhouse. You heard Wendell talk about UC Irvine, right? What an amazing thing. You know what value he's not extracting out of that yet? You know, I had all these titles and number ones. They're first at this and first in that. They're rated 6 or 7. Guess what? Guess what's really important at UC Irvine that he could be doing tomorrow? He could turn the retrofit and the green building of that campus into curriculum. What's important up there are those kids. Every one of those kids, any one of those kids could be the next world leader. Any one of them could be the person that gets and acts and does the stuff that I'm talking about. It's going to happen here. So as we were all feeling the way we felt yesterday with 9/11, when we were all brought to our knees and the country's kind of weakened and we're not landing on the moon, you know, we're just completely overrun by media. There isn't anything we can't find out. There's no new. I'm telling you, this new is you. And this is from somebody who did the green of the White House. This is from somebody who did the first platinum building in the world. The first, and so many things, the first hydrogen car with BMW. I helped launch the i3 and the i8 this year, the Mini. So many things that I've done first, but only to be first, not for me, but I met the person that I led them to making these big steps. And so my career has been 7 or 8 seminal moments, and they've been fantastic. And what I'm trying to tell you is clean tech has the capacity to be the change agent way beyond sustainability, way beyond the values of green building. And if we focused Orange County Clean Tech on real estate, and we were the county, or we were the city, or Orange County was focused on raising the portfolio value of global real estate, that recognition would be forever. And so that's my recommendation, is that every product that's in the room next door, all the transportation, the whole world's going to go electric. And the limitation will be that we move into megacities. And BMW says in 30 years we may not make cars, but we'll be the first name in mobility and transportation. Oh yeah. And so the world's changing faster than you can imagine. And the life-giving forces on the planet are challenged in more ways than you can imagine. And so for your children, the future children, the species, the life-giving forces that are out there, realize how important you are as a group of people that are going to take that thing that we've done that we can do something about, which was we built cities. And we can go back into those cities now. And we can create a whole new economy. Because environmentalism, sustainability, clean tech, green building, it's just another form of money. And money goes where it's treated friendly. And right now, clean tech is where money is going. And it's just going to be an amazing time to watch the whole LED, all these transformative and disruptive technologies that are coming out on the energy side. All of these technologies that are going to create data banks and produce these new network platforms that allow us to act differently in buildings and compete more. All that's going to come to a point. And then, most importantly, as I was talking to Henrik later, in 2 or 3 years, Orange County Clean Tech could own this space too. The minute we master the information of that 5th fuel, all of the inefficiency in the world that will go mine, we then need to take it to water. And we have a first mover advantage, and I'm telling you that today. If you as a group within Orange County could focus on that 2 or 3 years out, that you start to build principal opportunities towards the information side of water, it'll have tremendous payback worldwide.
Is that your tip for the future? Water is the next big one?
Well, everyone's talking about water, but water's so cheap today, and there's no way to get your arms around it. But that's the kind of stuff that Grumfos and others, with all these pumps, they're starting to realize where they're moving water agriculturally. They're starting to see what it takes to move different temperatures of water. How many gallons of water did it take to run this hotel? I mean, I'll bet you the Hyatt doesn't know. And if they did know, they could make some significant changes in those things. So let's cover 2 or 3 things. I think I'm almost at time. Huh, Greg? Close? A couple minutes?
We're getting close, but I'd like to hear more from a global perspective. You've talked about billions of dollars of money going to where it's being treated friendly and the richest, most relevant people get all the millions. Can you speak to that a little bit more?
So if you guys, if you think that you've seen all the billionaires coming out of the valley, you haven't seen anything yet. Because we're talking about a global hit. So PayPal and Skype and all those enabling sites, they're interesting. But those service platforms are this compared to the energy world. I mean, energy is the biggest game in the world. It is the largest industrial everything out there. It has everything to do with everything. And it's a huge economy that's about to find the information side. And so those data visualization tools are critical. And so there are, I mean, Facebook's printing, 100 millionaires a day. You can tell when Facebook's had an option day because every house that was for sale on the weekend sold Sunday. I mean, the entire real estate section in the Palo Alto News is gone. You call if you're looking for a house, you better check with Facebook first because there's no inventory. It's just nothing but flow up there. But if you came up on the tour, you would just see that people are driving this out of their instincts. It's driven because they can see the kind of global implications that it's going to have, particularly in third world countries. If I had to pack up and move again, I'd go to Brazil. Brazil gets this. Brazil says yes to everything, and Brazil knows how they're going to be off the grid. Denmark and Sweden, Henrik, you guys have been doing the right thing since before you were born. But Brazil's going to do it in a population that's unbelievable. And China's doing amazing things too. You hear China spending $400 billion on clean technologies and alternative, but China's doing it for China. And India is doing it for India. And we're doing it for everybody. What's amazing about what we do here is we think globally when we act and move on these things in the U.S. And watch the U.S. Green Building Council become the World Green Building Council. Watch Rick leave to become the chairman of the World Green Building Council in a year. The next natural step for him is to take and grow the fastest NGO worldwide. So what this is about is there isn't clean tech like this going on anywhere else in the world, you guys. There isn't. In this time zone, it's here. And the marketplace immediately is in the U.S. The biggest place to play is in New York City. And New York will be the retrofit capital of the planet. It'll drive more economies here and more economies in the valley than anything. So Orange County Clean Tech, we need to find a way to get to New York. I need to help bridge your companies, and I will. I'm setting up shop across the street from the Empire State Building. In 10,000 feet, I'm building a demonstration center like I just did in Atlanta and Ackworth with Interface. I built a 40,000 square foot space that demonstrates all these technologies at once, like my house, because I realized people had to go into a space and see this stuff. And another strong recommendation, Greg, let's build the Orange County Center for High-Tech Building Technologies. Let's go over to UC Irvine. Let's get Wendell fired up on that and get Irvine to write the check because they can. Anyway, you guys have so much to be hopeful for and so much to be excited about. And more importantly, wherever you are in your job, and someone said, where do I start? You want my answer? You start where you are. And I'll tell you, tomorrow, Gary, when you wake up and you feel the way, you liked this, didn't you? You've never slept better, and you never felt better hugging your kids than when you will. I have a whole life now. I'm a whole person. I'm the man I wanted to be with my wife. I'm the father that I wanted to be. I delivered all my kids. I tapped the brake for a while to realize what's important in our lives. I'm not trying to do an Oprah moment here, but there is so much of a payback for you personally to do this. And 2 weeks ago, I went to Ray Anderson's memorial. And I had the video clip. It was 8 minutes long. I was going to show it to you tonight. But I realized when I was rolling out there looking for Sarah, it was the wrong thing to do. Because it's a sad video. It's a video about a guy who at 60 years old had no idea. I want you to hear this. He was 60 when he found this moment of sustainability in green building. And his company today is the most important company in the world in that space. So take that with you. Not many people are 60 in this room. A lot of young women in this room. And there is amazing ascension of women in this space. And so go with it. And I wish you guys tons of luck. And just realize right under your nose that there's a lot of power in this room and that the Orange County Clean Tech movement could be the most influential technology movement there is. The labs, a lot of the ventures up in Sand Hill Road. But the opportunity for you guys to own it and to own it against real estate is right now. And so I hope you have that advantage. I always close with a little talk about a teacher and a third grade class. And the teacher says to the class, I want you guys to draw a picture of something you love. And so Adam has drawn a picture of his brother and his family out at the lake house for their summer vacation. And David's drawn a picture of his bike, his new Stingray with big handlebars and sissy bar. You're not a sissy. Sissy bar. And what's your name? And Karen's drawn a picture. And the teacher comes up and she goes, Karen, what are you drawing a picture of? And Karen says, I'm drawing a picture of God. And the teacher looks at Karen and goes, Karen, come on. How can you draw a picture of God? We don't know what God looks like. And Karen looks back and she says, you will when I'm finished. And that's it, you guys. It's about us doing this. It's about us doing this for our kids. It's about doing this. This is our moment to do what we need to do for ourselves, to turn things up, turn things around, switch it on. When you go in the direction of doing good, and that becomes your business, and you line up your head and your heart and your decisions about leaving something behind, not just making something, but being a company that is not just about what they make, but what they stand for. And when you wake up in the morning and you feel like you're a leader in that space and you start there in that space and you rock from that point, I am telling you, you become bulletproof. You become fearless amongst strangers like this. And normally, if Sarah was on time and we were, she's busted. And normally I would have had you guys all stand up, and I'm going to do it now. I'm going to close with this. I want you guys to all stand up. I want you to look to the person to the left, and I want you to say hi to him. And I want you to give him a hug. Give him a closing hug. Closing hug. Let's go, you guys. I had a whole group of Chinese hugging. You can do it. Come on. Let's go. All right, get out of here. Have a great week. Thank you.